Hey everyone! So today I'm going to show you how I make bows. So you're going to start with 2 pieces of your loops and you're going to put them together with the right sides facing, and you're going to sew them together on the arc side. So you're going to leave those little ends open, and that's so you can flip it around later and iron it flat. Okay, so I'm going to speed this part up just so you can kind of see the process, so just don't mind how crazy it sounds in the background right now. Don't forget to backstitch at the beginning and at the end of the seam. That way when you flip it inside out, it won't pull or fray. So now we're going to take our bow tails and we're going to fold them in half with the right sides facing together, and we're going to sew along the longer sides. We're going to leave this top part open, so don't sew that closed because that's where we're going to flip it inside out later when we go to iron it. When you get to the corner, make sure that you lift your presser foot and pivot your fabric. That way you can just keep going in one continuous seam. Now that you've got your pieces all stitched together, you're going to take them to your ironing board and flip those pieces inside out. We want to expose the seams because what we're going to do is we're going to press them flat so they're nice and crisp and sharp. So what I like to do is lay the seam out flat, and then I take heavy starch. I always use the heaviest starch that I can find. Always use starch. It's about $1 for a can of it, and it'll last you a pretty long time. Always use starch. That is absolutely imperative to get nice, crisp bows. So you're going to starch the seam like that, and then you're going to press out those seams. Now flip it over and press the seam on the other side. Don't forget to use your starch. Now that you've got your seams nice and flat, you're going to lay out your piece and you're going to starch the crap out of it and you're going to iron it flat. I know this part seems a little bit tedious, but trust me, it's totally worth it. Okay, so now we've got our piece nice and starched. Now it's time to insert the interfacing. So the way I like to do the interfacing is I kind of fold it over loosely and I insert it into the piece, and then once I've got it all the way inside, it will either unroll naturally or it might need a little bit of a push. So if I need to get it into position, I'll usually take like a pen or a chopstick and get it to lay flat. So now that the interfacing is in position, we're going to iron it, and you want to use the highest heat that you can use. I have a silk setting on my iron, so that's what I use to iron it. And you're going to want to make sure that you're ironing the shiny side. If you iron the other side, it's not going to stick to your fabric and it's not going to be as stiff. So double check and make sure that you're ironing on the shiny side of the interfacing. I'm only going to show you how to do it on this one piece, but you're going to repeat this step for the other pieces for your bow. So the other loop and for the 2 tail pieces. Make sure you give them a nice, good ironing. So now we're going to iron out the knot, and what I do is I cut out a rectangle of fabric and I fold it into thirds, and then I press it flat. So fold down the one side with the shiny side down, so you're going to just press the raw edges in, and then grab the other side and fold it in and press it flat. And I usually go back and give this a pretty thorough once over with starch as well, just to make sure it's extra stiff. Alright, now it's time for the fun part. Now we're going to assemble our bow. So first we're going to take our bow tails and we're going to do a basting stitch at the raw edge just to kind of stitch them together for now before we assemble them into the final bow. So I'm just going to do a quick basting stitch on this raw edge. Okay, and when you're done, you're going to pull it apart like so. Now you're going to grab one of your loops, and I like to do them one at a time just because it's a little bit easier. So you're going to take your loop and fold it in half and baste it closed at the raw edge. So there's one, and then grab the other one, fold it in half. Oh, I didn't like how it was folded. There we go. Fold it in half, and we're going to stitch the other one closed like so. Okay, so now you're going to take both of those loop pieces and you're going to put them one on top of the other, and we're going to sew them together. These 4 pieces sewn together might be a little thick, so just be patient. But you're going to stitch those pieces together at the raw edge and close up that seam. When you're done stitching those 2 pieces together, just open it up and it'll look like this. Almost done. So now we're going to use a stay stitch to keep the bow in position before we put the tie in the middle. So you're going to fold it in half and take a hand needle, and we're going to stick that in about 1/3 to 1/2 of the way down from where the fold is, and put it through one side and out the other side. Now you're going to pull the edge in towards the center and then use another series of stay stitches to tack them into place. Now you're going to take your tails and fold that top peak down so that the raw edges are facing together, so that'll kind of hide them. And you're going to take the tail piece and lay it flat against the back side of your bow, just like this. Okay, so stick those 2 pieces together and wrap your tie around the middle. And once you've hand stitched it on, it should look like this. Thank you guys so much for watching. That is how I make bows. If you have any questions, feel free to message me directly on Instagram. It's @Queenie_cosplay, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may come across when you're trying to make your own bows. Until then, see you next time.